Hi, and welcome to this week's walkthrough bridge from 2way Kids, where each week we upload free printable Bible lessons for you to use if you're under 5 to help them to explore the Bible and to apply it to their lives. So this year we're looking at the New Testament together, and this week we're looking at Jesus' first miracle, which is at the wedding of Canaan. If you haven't already done so, can I encourage you to head over to the website. There you can download and print this week's lesson for free, and you can follow along. So the website is 2waykids.com. So once you've done so, you'll see this is the front page of this week's lesson. You'll see Jesus there at the wedding in Canaan. So that's the front cover, just to give you an idea of the scene. As you open up the lesson, you'll see right there on the first page is the introduction. And as always, we have some of the main points we're going to cover as well as a lesson guide. So this week we're talking about a miracle. So one of the first things we're going to try and explore with our children is what is the miracle? What does the word miracle actually mean? Then we're going to look at what Mary did. When there was a problem, Mary brought that problem to Jesus. She trusted Jesus to fix the problem. We can trust Jesus too to fix the problems that we have. Then we're going to see that Mary's advice to the servants was to obey Jesus and do whatever he told them to do, and how we need to obey Jesus and do what he tells us to do. And finally, we're going to see that Jesus always does the best thing. He doesn't just do what's good, he does what is best. And we see that in John 2 verse 10. As you look through the rest of the introduction, you'll see some points of how we can try to teach these points to our children. Some games activities as well that does that and just emphasizes those points that we just mentioned. So carry on the lesson. You'll see on the next 2 pages is the printable story. So as always, you can just print these off and you print the front and back on 2 pages, stick them together and fold. And there you have this week's story in the printable form. You can use it as a bedtime story for your child or as a take-home sheet from church. So you see on the front cover is just Jesus' first miracle there at the wedding. Then you see Mary coming to Jesus with the problem, saying that they run out of wine. You see Jesus telling the servants, pour water into the vases. Then at the end, the man tasted it, saying, that's the best wine I've ever tasted. Why is it last in the miracle taking place? Then for the games and activities this week, there's 3 as always. The first one was a taste test. So see, when the man at the end tasted the water that had been turned into wine, he said, this is the best wine I've ever tasted. So we can play with our child, put some different foods on the table and ask your child to taste them and decide which one is the best. And then we can see again about what's good, what's better and what is best. We can teach our children these things. Now one is to throw a mini party. So you have a little birthday party at your home or just to celebrate anything. But then you can talk about as you're doing it. Imagine what would happen if you had guests in your birthday party and you ran out of cake. You know, how would that guest feel who didn't have cake? How would you feel not having cake to give them? This is kind of a picture of what had happened when they ran out of wine. The people who didn't have it would have felt bad and the host would have felt bad, and it would have been a shame on them. So we can kind of help our children to realise what they were feeling. And finally, a water relay. So as they were told to fill up the vases, what you can do is, I recommend doing this outside. It's just less messy. But if you put a bucket of water on one side of your garden or in a safe space, give your child a cup and they just need to empty the water from one side and fill the other. Try to tip the least amount of water possible. At the end, the team or the person who has the most water in their bucket or spills the less, they are the winners. So this week's worksheets, there's 6 verses there, so we're going to learn about word number 6, as they were told to fill 6 of them. So you can practice write number 6 there. Here is just again an outline you probably can't see here, but for them to practice writing number 6, come to vase in there, they need to count 6 of them and colour in the vases full of water, doing as they were told to do for a miracle. This is sorted by size, so you'll see the vases get bigger as it goes on. It's again to see about good, better, best, and so on, and also, you know, big, bigger, biggest. So you can use these as you use these, you know, smallest and so on. Cut them out and then just ask your child to order them by smallest first over to the largest. Finally, just a worksheet, identify the difference between food and drink. So you see food at the top, drink at the bottom, and all the child needs to do is draw an arrow. So you see a hamburger going up to food, the drink would be going down to drink, and so on. Then for this week's craft, mine didn't quite print right, but I'll show you the actual example. So what you'll see is the instructions. On the next page you'll see here's the template page. So it's very easy to do. You need to colour this in, cut around the lines, then colour one side of this circle in wine colour and the other side in blue to represent the water. And then what you do is you put the fastener pin through there, and you actually make the craft. So here's an example of one we made, and you'll see as you churn it, There's water, and then water turns into wine as it's poured into a glass. And there's a Bible verse there, taken from John 2 verse 5. Mary saying to the servants, do whatever he tells you. A reminder that we need to do whatever Jesus tells us to do. And we have a couple of current pages. We have there the servant obeying Jesus, pouring the water into the vases just before they turn into wine. We have Mary speaking to Jesus, saying about the problem. Then we have just one of the couple who are getting married in their wedding day. On the last page, if you're using the PDF on your computer, you'll be able to click on these links. Otherwise, you can visit the website. These are just some songs that go along with this week's lesson. God of wonders, miracle worker, and how God is greater. So these are just ones that fit in well with this week's lesson. And prayers, thanking God that nothing is impossible for Him, and He cares about the things that bother us, and ask Him to help us to obey Him in all things. And you'll see here at the bottom of the preview, next week's lesson, we're going to be looking at Jesus and Nicodemus together, and we have that famous verse from John 3:16, for God so loved the world. Well, I hope you have a really blessed week. I hope that you're really blessed as you study this lesson with your child or children, and I'll see you again next week for next week's lesson. God bless.